I believe
Not everyone?
2 of us are.
I'm halvesies, I think. Let me look. No, I am about to go down.
I'm alive.
Yes,
because
you
you're
are.
about to eat everybody.
You're right.
You're about to go nom nom.
It's okay. I needed some breakfast.
I don't even
I don't
remember
taste good.
what's going on.
I give migraines.
Nah, you definitely look like you taste good.
Nah, I give migraines.
It's okay. This guy gave me the worst migraine in the world. It's called
You
insanity.
eat me, you lose all your memories.
I'm not sure that's how that works.
Definitely.
I'm like 90%
It's a rather proven myth that if you eat it half health, you lose all your memories. That's why usually people don't eat them.
See, like I thought it was the other way around. It's like I eat you, you lose everything, including your memories. So,
because you die.
If anything, I gain your memories because I've eaten your brain.
Oh, no.
I don't even know what's going on in this conversation anymore.
It's okay. You don't need to.
I never know anything.
So how has everybody been? It's only been a week, but
pretty good. I've been obsessed with this game.
What game?
Obsessed.
I finished.
I never heard of it. It's called Hades.
Hades.
Game is definitely addicting.
It's so good.
Which game?
Hades. The music's really nice too, and the visual. It's
Everybody's
very
phone's going. I'm waiting for it to pop up so I can try to figure out how to host it.
/host.
Does it need to be live though?
We are live. We've been live for 2 minutes.
It's not showing up on the list.
You need to just look it up in your
There
search
it is.
bar.
So I have to have the adders at just the
/host at TTRPG.
Okay, so it is that. I can spell.
Can you guys believe Futurama's coming back?
What?
Futurama's coming back. Futurama?
Yay, I did the thing.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? 20 new episodes headed to Hulu.
I mean,
It's probably because
Futurama,
Disenchantment. It's probably because Disenchantment failed so hard.
Yeah,
You know
that was
what?
awful.
I only watched. How many episodes did we watch? I didn't like it at all, but Dante.
tried.
Wasn't it Dante and Arlene who said it got better
I
after?
watched the whole thing, and
It's not. Futurama is fucking awesome.
I love Futurama.
That's a good show. Great show. But I hope the new episodes are good. It says most
I
of the
gave
cast.
Disenchantment multiple chances, and
Me too. It just was whatever.
Never.
But it's like weird because The Simpsons is hilarious. Futurama is hilarious. How come I did not find Disenchantment hilarious?
Oh, The
Like,
Simpsons are awful now. That used to be good, but I don't really watch them anymore.
But that's what makes me scared about new Futurama episodes. Like, are they suddenly not going to be funny anymore?
Good point.
I don't know, man.
The newer Futurama episodes, when it came back, weren't as good either, but still better than Disenchantment.
Well, and I think, when you decide that you're going to be a Dungeons and Dragons themed show, you're already kind of carrying a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So far, in my opinion, the only show that's pulled off anything close to what I consider to be accurate is Vox Machina.
Vox Machina. I knew you were
Their
going to say
animated
it.
series.
Because it's done so well.
Well, it's not even
amazing.
that. It's not about it doing well. You actually have people that played the actual game
Yeah.
curate the space
one
and
episode.
curate the production
Pretty
value.
good.
And the smartest thing they did is approach Titmouse. That was the smartest thing you could have done.
The thing
Titmouse is an
fun.
amazing production company.
It's a fun show.
Scanlan's hand!
The thing is, I the first episode only, I didn't find it that funny, but even if I didn't find it funny, I found it interesting. So
oh my
I'll
god,
keep
the whole
watching it.
opening monologue when the fake group gets destroyed. That was fucking brilliant.
Yes.
That was so cool.
Everyone do not disturb, otherwise all the pings will keep going off. My brain will not
And if you hold your nose really strong, you could almost smell the fear in the room as Calamax is about to eat all the dead bodies, but not for at least 30 more seconds. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be a bad night, but I am saying it could be the last night for a while, depending on how it goes.
I'm scared.
Because the intent was to give this show a break and see if we're going to come back and do a second season in the fall. Because, you know, Kiki and McCallum have to go do their education. That means I may have to recruit 2 more players in case they can't come back in the fall. And in all reality, this game was always designed for kind of like test mechanics and to give me a creative outlet to experience the playstyle of someone like Enigma. And I love watching. In my old Wednesday game, I used to call Kiki and McCallan the twins. I always referred to them as the twins whenever they would pop on, and Memorous and Brash kind of using this unique way of building characters, because everything we tested here is actually going to be utilized in our Monday night studio game, where I'm getting rid of levels and I'm getting rid of classes, subclasses, and archetypes. And when the players sit down next Monday to start thinking about how they want to build their players for the Monday Vasselheim campaign, Pike's Promise, they simply write a story and that becomes their character. We'll use milestones, but they're going to be very different. And it's going to be an interesting experiment, because I think I'll be honest, watching Calamex's development has been a real kind of window into that style that I'm looking to kind of build up on. And then watching the way you guys kind of adapt when we do our sessions, where you're like, oh, we level up. And then we talk about, well, what do you think you did up to this point that you feel is a skill or something that you kind of think you can focus on? I love that part of it. And I can't take any credit for that, because I got that idea from Uncanny Pros and from Ombligo del Diablo, because in their mage system that they built themselves, they do that as well. And I also like the way Enigma does our XP in Star Wars. I don't feel leveled. I don't feel archetyped. I don't feel like, when the tree is big enough to pull enough leaves off of it, I feel like you can be something unique. And I really want to expand on that more, and this has been my test bed for that. It's been a lot of fun. But seeing as how you guys are all on the edge of chaos, the very edge of chaos in dragon form. So happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm really sorry about the dark mood that's going to happen tonight, but it's just the nature of this game. And to be honest, the feral nature that is what Calamex has turned into. We'll have to see how this goes.
I didn't do nothing wrong.
Yet.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's some conjecture there. We'll let it go.
I didn't do shit.
I didn't do shit, homie. Now get over here, Memorous, and get in my belly. I eat the sleepy ones first. Oh my God. Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. So either tonight or maybe next Wednesday or the end of the month, we'll see what path they choose tonight, which will kind of determine the closeout of this first season. And this first season will be done, and then we'll talk about whether or not we come back in the fall or we wait a little bit longer, because I may design some more mechanics and design some more things around this concept, this game, And but no matter what, we'll have an epilogue of some sort. So when we do our final episode, make sure you have some kind of epilogue in mind. We won't do a major time skip in case you guys want to come back with these characters to do some higher level activities within the alternate universe that is this particular campaign known as the Descendants. But yeah, everything you need to know about us is down below. Enigma, who plays Calamex, he is our Tuesday Dungeon Master and our Thursday Game Master. Tuesday is Titan's Revival, and Thursday is Tales of the Lost, a really fun Star Wars game that I actually get to play in. We also have games Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Descendants, as well as Saturday. Our Saturday night game is over on the D&D Club. Go check them out. Lots of fun. And then Sunday is Debtor's Gambit and Absent Throne. And next Monday, we will be doing a real fun Valentine's Day pop-up with the players, as we now have all 5 players for our Monday game that's going to be in studio. We have Thea, who will be on camera and playing in the studio. We have Callista, we have Ivar, and we have Haley, and we have Patrick. So yeah, she came in and saw the studio, and she was like, "Oh my god, I'm so in." She's like, "I'm totally gonna play." She didn't panic when she saw the 6 cameras and all the microphones and the whole like rigging above the table. She's like, "Oh, I want to play. I'm totally in."
It's fucking dope.
I'm super happy. I wish all of you could be here. I really do. Wish all of us could actually reach out and just boop. Or just boop.
One day.
It's like,
In the plans
fuck
somewhere.
y'all. So, where we last left off, the team, having survived the ceremonial effect that the cult of the beast priest that was attempting to invoke, and the beholder known as Xanathar, they had retreated down into the pyramid cavern below the construction site. The team, being rescued by Slackjaw, not fully recovered, but it recovered enough to try to still continue to stop the ceremony. They retreated down below into the construction site and down the scaffolding of a very large pyramid that was partially buried underneath the construction site. Once down there, they began to put pieces of the puzzle together, as it would appear that the site that they are currently in is a site that is, well, controlled, owned by something called Unity Incorporated, along with a lot of minor corporations and minor companies that seem to have a connection with the Unity as well. Finding access into the pyramid, they then discovered a familiar hallway for some of them, a familiar chamber to at least 3 of them, as they found themselves in the Descendants chamber. Once in the Descendants chamber, it would appear that a particular individual, Xanathar, was utilizing the Descendants chamber as a way to try to not only conclude the last of the ceremony and bring into existence whatever he was trying to bring in, but a more nefarious entity, a backdrop to Calamex's history, had come full circle. As the entity or creature or whatever you might want to call him had confronted Calamex, a deep-seated fear, deep-seated hate erupting in Calamex, while half of you, well, most of you, fought Xanathar. Calamex engaged in one-on-one combat with this thing that had made who Calamex is today, either through purposes of magic or arcane sheer will. Calamex is what he is because of this nefarious individual. Xanathar, interrupted by those trying to stop him, felled at least one individual that goes by the name of Memorous, who I believe is currently unconscious on the ground. The others struggling to stay in the fight. However, it was Brash leaping upon Xanathar and Kiki's laser beam shooting out and destroying the main eye and most of the body of the creature while Brash ripped it to shreds. It was at that point that Calamex felt the death of his former master. Glee turned into a maniacal laughter as this death seemed to cause almost a transcendent reality in Calamex's existence, shredding his physical self and becoming his full ancient dragon self, losing the fabric of his mind to the energy of chaos that is now attempting to take control of him. Memorous, give me a death save, please. Kiki, McAllen, and Brash, give me insight checks.
Oh no.
Natural 20.
Memorous, you stabilize. The sound of heavy footsteps
Nice.
shaking the floor, shaking the floor around you, shudders a handful of stones that mysteriously fall on your chest, creating a concussion effect. Suddenly you stabilize. And as you stabilize, you remembered the one particular feat that you had earned from your level up. And you quickly pull out the memory of death that just occurred as you immediately invoke a long rest on yourself.
Okay.
Kiki, what'd you get?
I got 19.
19? McAllen?
21.
Okay. Brash?
10.
10. Brash, you are literally playing with one of the disembodied eyes from the eye stalk, just batting it left to right.
ADHD moment. Oh.
Looking to see Calamex now approaching. Kiki, you and McAllen stare at this form that is now Calamex and his huge, like, monstrous form rearing up with this maniacal look in his face, this bestial look in his face. The two of you begin to see the final piece of the puzzle fall into place. The cult of the beast, the control of the descendant energy, the summoning of chaos. This entire elaboration has been both Xanathar and the thing that made Calamex. It works. Calamex has been summoned. His ancient dragon form has been summoned, and he feels and looks like he's out of control, that the fabric of his reality has been shattered. And you're now watching as the descendant cavern in the background begins to swirl with a maelstrom of energy as a very familiar looking gate is beginning to form within the cavern. The one that you remember closing back in Thinville. It's huge swirling drifts of arc and chaotic magic and flame coursing nearby. You can see great tides of creatures and beasts extending unending into this vision beyond that. Remember, as you lean over on your elbow to look up at Calamex and to look at this scene unfolding around you. Calamex, go ahead and give me an intelligence save, please. Memorous, Kiki, McAllen, and Brash. What would you like to do as this begins to unfold around you?
Can I try to cast sleep on him?
You do. In fact, you feel a pulse of energy from the now exposed network. In the network, you feel the full slam of the energy come into you as you begin to form the verbal somatic, and then you reach into your pouch to toss up the last incantation of the effect. Memorous, what would you like to try to do?
This is interesting.
kind of stand at your full height, fully rested, as that one saving grace, that bit of memory of death that you get to invoke whenever you do die or on the brink of death. But cautiously knowing that when that last memory is ever used, you will die regardless. You have 3 of those memories left.
Okay. Is there... Now, I imagine most likely it's from simply all of the Descendants' memories in the room, but is there any other source of power that seems to be kind of creating this portal? Is it coming from Calamix, or is it simply
Give me a Arcana check.
15.
15. It feels like Calamix is the source of whatever's transpiring, that his summation has been brought into existence in this state, the way he's been created and brought in, that there's a connection here. McCallan, what would you like to try to do?
I am going to wait to see if Kiki's sleep spell works, and in that time I am readying my pistol just in case.
Okay. 2 of you side by side. Brash, what do you want to do?
I'm gonna use the last 4 doses of that healing ointment because I'm about to die.
Okay. You quickly slather that on you.
And I'm gonna write down what it is this time. What is it again?
4d4 plus 2. It's basically just kind of like a regular healing potion per application.
I'm really bad at remembering what the healing potions are.
So the 4 of you staring at this form that is Calamix. Would you get for your intelligence save, Calamix?
20.
20. Give me another charisma save, please. Zach's like, good luck, guys.
Beautiful.
That's a result.
18.
18.
Why is everything so high?
He's an ancient dragon. What did you expect?
I don't know. Maybe he's
I
tired.
imagine most things have a plus 10.
Wouldn't he be like,
Minimal.
I'm tired. My back
Oh,
hurts.
wait. I'm
No?
sorry. I'm in my ancient dragon form. That's a 22.
Oh, great. Great. Thanks for reminding him, Memorist.
Yeah, thanks,
I'm here all night.
Rememorist.
I'm here all night.
Unconscious on the floor.
Oh, and the
Here all night.
intelligence save would have actually been a 25.
I was going to say, that sounded a little bit low. I know, my beard's gone. It's gone.
Comments like that.
Oh,
Pardon
you're
me.
trying to stroke your beard? Ha
No, Sack was like, oh my God, your beard. I'm like, yeah, it's gone. Tranner's beard is gone. Calamax, you feel the fabric of your reality stitched back, but only a little bit, but it's strange. The cooling body of the creature that you just destroyed lies at your massive feet, at your form, your dragon form. You're aware of your form, and it feels exhilarating. The energy coursing through your body, and you could feel the arcane nature of something adrift around you. And you are aware of something happening to your left, but you're not sure what it is. But down below, 4 insignificant fleas are attempting to harm you.
Nuh-uh.
I ain't done shit.
Trying to go, like, tell someone to go to sleep. It's like, oh, good night, baby. You know, like, put on a blanket. Like,
Sun's getting real low,
sing a
big
lullaby.
guy.
Yes, exactly. Harm my ass. I'm trying to calm shit down, okay?
Sun's getting real low, big guy. You have power again. You haven't felt this power in a long time. And it's almost like a piece of you has been missing for a long time. This chaos-like energy wrapping around you and just a blanket of power.
All right.
What would you like to do?
I you're feeling friendly.
I don't think he is.
Hey
That's
guys,
what
let
I'm
me
worried about.
buy y'all a drink. That'd be nice.
Hi guys.
Fleas are still fleas.
Well,
But
we can't fly,
desecration
so we're more
is-
like ants than fleas because we're on the floor.
You're all fleas.
No.
But the desecration of this body in front of me would make me real happy. Because I hate this person
Mhm.
more than
Maybe you're-
anything.
maybe
in
you're
the
in a
Describe
really good
what
mood
the
then.
four of them see you do.
Dance.
No.
You
Dragon
teabag
dance.
it?
Because technically I'd be at my full height of my power, I would. You see his hand, like the nail of his finger go into the body and grab what's left of the tattered soul and rip it out of the body.
Mm.
You guys watch as this coalescing energy, as Calamex's huge taloned claw focuses all his attention down on the destroyed form of the creature at his feet. He dips the talon into its midriff, and as he rips out the remaining soul, you watch as a blackened arcane energy begins to coalesce on the back of Calamex, as you see a bit of Calamex's soul render and shred.
Uh-oh. That's not
What do the
cool.
four of you want to do as you're watching this play out in front of you?
Can I try to talk to him? Hey, Calamex, it's us, your friends.
Give me a persuasion check.
Okay.
I don't know.
Persuasion.
I'm not sure I'm friend with those that are
Ooh.
insignificant.
Unnatural 20.
An unnatural 20.
Hey,
There's a moment as you're trying to talk to Calamex, his head stops for the barest of moments to turn a single eye towards you.
it's me, Kiki. We're friends.
You
We
hear
love
the
you.
network begin to buzz in your eye, and your eye oscillates. And as it does, a filter begins to download into your eye.
Am I speaking
And as you're
Draconic?
staring at Calamex, trying to persuade him to pay attention to you, you're watching as this maelstrom of energy that is his dragon form, in the very center of him is a smaller version of what he usually is, just floating inside of this ancient form that is Calamex. It's very confusing, but you could see the chaos energy being drawn in, the old Calamex shrinking and his new form getting ever more powerful, and
Whoa.
the network begins to dial back and issue energy surge warnings, concerns. It's trying to data process and kind of reconcile with what it's seeing, and it's struggling. And at some point, you hear a popping noise as a spark shoots out of
Oh
your
shit.
eye, and the network connection is severed.
Well, I guess
The
that's a
network didn't
good
go
thing.
deal
I'm
with it.
I'm just thinking like, hey, like they kept trying to destroy this, and I kept telling them you're gonna learn something here, and they're like, oh, there's something we don't understand. So,
Bye.
McAllen, Memoris, and Brash are watching as Kiki is like struggling with something,
stupid.
like knocking at her metallic eye. What do the three of you want to do? As Calamex is now almost done ripping this creature not only into pieces, but shredding its existence out of existence.
I'm not sure that. So are we like watching power from Calamex go into the portal?
Both. And
What?
every time you stare and watch that energy coalesce between him and the portal that's getting bigger within the descendant cavern, he gets a little bit bigger, his energy a little bit darker, his form larger, his neck extends, his chaotic visage is almost approaching more of a maniacal state. His bestial form is becoming more dominant over his intellectual form.
Hmm.
Brash will probably look at the others. And, do we knock him out? What? I don't know what to do.
Do you have any suggestions on knocking that out?
McAllen's like behind a pile of rocks. He goes, "How do we knock that out?"
Brash is like, let's knock it out. And it's like that thing is so much bigger than you, like a chihuahua barking at a Great Dane. Come at me!
I don't know. Maybe you guys should probably talk to the other form of me inside of it.
Meta Pigeon, go
I've
to
known you
sleep
for
now.
2 days.
I thought about that. I just didn't know how well that'd go or how to approach it.
Brash just chiming in.
Did
Hey, you're doing the opposite of what you're trying to do. Stop!
Give me a persuasion check, Brash.
That's gonna go wonderful.
What are you doing, Memories?
so? Did the spell sleep Kiki cast? Did it seem to at least like? I imagine it probably didn't put him to sleep. I imagine his health pool is way over the dice. But did it at least seem to work spell wise?
The spell itself worked. It was just simply absorbed by the chaos of the magic swirling around Calamix's large form.
So it would seem that like magic wouldn't exactly work on him.
Give me an Arcana check. Brash, what'd you get?
15.
Okay.
I'll walk out and I'll say, my friend, after all this, I don't think this is what you want to do. If you can hear me, know that I don't blame you for this. You cannot control it. But I hope you can find reason.
McAllen, give me persuasion with advantage. Feeding off of Brash's persuasion and Kiki's persuasion.
Panic.
So I rolled a natural 20.
Oh,
so
nice.
it
You
is
always roll
a
this.
28.
How do you always roll natural 20s? I don't understand. That's great.
As she pours you a glass of wine. I love it.
I like how she said you always get one, and yet this is
I
like your
roll
first
like
one in a
crap
while.
most of the time.
Oh, last week.
Last
you
week
got a
I
lot.
threw a bunch.
Yeah,
but
last week you got like
it's like
2 or
usually-
He
3.
did really good last
You
week.
got
That
like
is
2
very
or 3
true.
last week. The chances of that were very low, but you did it.
So for you, Calamix, there's just a slight voice in your head for a brief moment. And you hear a stranger's voice, but familiar at the same time. Calamix. I was put in your head for a reason, don't you think? Memories are things that we use for both hate and for what we love.
Hate.
Calamex, I will not allow you to be consumed. We have made such progress. At your feet lies your old life. Around you is your new life. Give me another charisma save as this voice gets a little bit louder in your head. Just a little bit louder. Not a lot.
18.
18.
No, 19.
19.
Plus 3.
At the end of your speech, McAllen, to Calamex, there's hesitation. His darkened dragon skin crackling a bit of arcane energy stitching up and down it. His head stalls for a moment, looks at you with intensity, and then for the first time looks and arcs his huge head to look in the cavernous space around him. There's a moment of clarity that's here right now. The four of you notice this. What would the four of you like to try to do next?
I say to him, you have the will, fight it. Because I know that You have a very sordid past, but that does not need to be who you are.
Kiki, Brash, Memoris.
I'm gonna keep talking to him too. Just be like, you've saved us so many times. Don't kill us now. Don't you like us?
Kill
We're
us
your
later,
friends.
not now.
We're your friends. You can
Memoris?
do it.
Anything
You
you'd
can
like to
fight
try
it.
to do? You can hear McAllen and Kiki trying to take advantage of this moment of clarity through their longer term relationship with Calamex. You don't have that since the beginning relationship with him. You're still learning about who he is, but your feeling is that this is the height of who he thinks he is, who he's become. But there's a moment that he's shaking his head, there's confusion on his face, his huge dragon form shuddering with a bit of revelation to it. Like it's struggling. He's trying, but it's a struggle.
I'm gonna try this.
Okay.
I hope this works. I'm gonna first cast Enhance Ability on myself, giving myself advantage on charisma checks if
Okay.
the spell goes through.
Okay. It works. Feel the
Then
arcane. Here's what you do notice since you cast it on yourself. As you cast that spell upon yourself, you watch as a tendril of arcane energy strikes Calamex, and an equal tendril of arcane energy comes off of Calamex and feeds the growing vortex behind him.
Okay. Then I'm gonna use bonus action Bardic Inspiration on myself to give myself a D6 for my next check.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna kind of not getting like extremely close, but kind of making sure he can see me. And then I'm gonna look up at him, and then kind of look at the whole of him, and then kind of do the best to my ability of looking him into the eyes and just kind of yell out, "This is not what you are. This is what you used to be, and this is what you hate to see in yourself. You are a good man. You are a man who cares for others. You are a man that loves others. You have friends here that still stand beside you, even when you threaten them. You are loved. Fight this. You are better than this."
Brash, what do you want to do as Memoris' speech kind of comes to an end? And he stands there fully vulnerable in front of this massive dragon who seems to be stunned for a moment, just kind of rethinking his thoughts.
I wanted to be cheesy for a second and have her go, "You've become the very thing you swore to destroy!" But that's a little bit too smart for her to
Is
say.
it?
So she wouldn't think to say it like that, though. It's more like a, "You're better than this!" Just to add on to it. And she just kind of stand there. She's still like bleeding out in a couple places. And she's like not completely focused, but she's like, "You're better! Help!"
Help.
A little bit desperate, like, "Please stop doing the thing."
With this secondary plea being made up towards you and seeing this person that you could just destroy in an instant down below plead in your direction, that voice returns yet again in your head. Calamex, it's okay to let go of your past. Let me show you mine. Let me show you what made me become a descendant. And with that, there's this pause, this hesitation, this balance. The fabrication of your mind instantly stitches back together as you're pulled in to the memory of a very young Nostradamus. He is 11, 12 years old. He is standing on what looks to be a purposely made mound of dirt. And as he stands there looking down into this mound, there is maybe a unending line of corpse wagons stringing right and left, disappearing back towards some unknown village. As the rot of those who have died of a sickness unknown are gradually being tossed into this common pit, one after the other, until there's a sharp pain of memory that momentarily orients you towards the vision as his parents, his entire family is tossed into this open pit. There's a moment of clarity as you can sense the pain, emotion, and love, and the absolute conviction that this moment in time will live longer than his own sense of self. It's that pulse that kind of pulses through you, breaks the chaos connection for just a moment, and with clarity, you can now hear your friends pleading for your return. Come back to us, they are yelling. You shake your head. You're still in your ancient dragon form, but your mind has been reconnected to who you are. The anger not quite gone, but welling at the back of your throat. You now have a clear eye of your 4 friends heavily injured, although memories seem surprisingly recovered. Looking to your left, a now glitchy, barely composed cyclonic gateway that looks very familiar to you. You remember seeing it in Thinville. Masses of the marauding creatures, unending beyond it, waiting for the opportunity. And all you hear in your head, for just that moment of clarity, I don't think so. I have been planning this for a very long time. I did not orchestrate thousands of years of war and rot and ruin to let this fade, this opportunity not come into my reach. Chaos has always been here, and chaos is the world that this place will be forever. Calamex, give me another charisma save, please. With advantage, because you've got your moment of clarity.
$26.
Nice. DC
I rolled
was,
2 19s.
yeah, that's great because the DC was a 20.
Whoa.
The DC was a 25.
Oh my God.
As your clarity fully restores, and you can hear the distinct sound of 4 small hearts beeping or like beating down below you. You feel yourself reconnect with your friends for just that moment. And as you look into that maelstrom, you watch as the chaos begins to unfold. And within that chaos is the fabricator, the creator, the destroyer, the bringer of existence. First, you see the first series of tentacles extending from the old one's mouth. You then watch as the scaled, bulbous head of its form begins to take on a physical manifestation. And just for that barest of moment, all of you watch as a single tentacle begins to breach the boundary. There's a crackle of energy and light as for the first time in many millennia, the old one's about to take its first tentative step into this reality. It's beginning to push through. The veil is weakening, but not quite strong enough to push through all the way.
I have my mind now, right?
You do have your mind back now.
I will say in my mind, what did I tell you last time? I am in control now. And I will, I'll use my full body's capabilities to forcefully shut this rip, this tear.
All of you watch as a surge of energy and pain coalesces around the ancient dragon form. As the old one's first tentacle begins to breach the veil in an attempt to come through, you watch as the form of Calamix is shredded. It comes apart in front of you. The energy of chaos rebounds, pulls itself back in, and you watch as the gate collapses. Looking down, you now see a very distinct looking human form lying on the ground. Calamix's dragon form expended, permanently gone from his self. It is now just Calamix, lying on the ground in an unconscious state.
I'm gonna go pick him up, and I'll say, "Thank you, friend." And I'm gonna see about trying to get out of here. And I'm gonna suggest that everybody else try and get out of here too.
Go.
Oh, it's
You guys immediately start running back the direction you came. The scaffolding, all the heavy equipment is collapsing in around as you come back out of the pyramid. Huge boulders caving in from up above. The temple, the pyramid coming apart. Huge blocks shattering, shaking. As all of you can kind of hear a distant rumble somewhere else, but you're not really sure what it is. Everybody give me dex saves, with the exception of Calamix, who is currently unconscious.
I can see it.
Yeah, you can definitely see it.
Okay, just had to make sure.
Yep. No, you're good.
Oh
That's fine. Oh.
What'd you guys get?
15.
Okay. Kiki?
no. 7.
Memories?
Non-natural 20.
Okay. Brash?
Sorry, my heart rate just went through the roof. 19.
19.
My body decided to do a panic, and I'm like, but why?
Well, sometimes my escape scenarios have a tendency to do that.
I just
and
turned my chair. And it was like, ah, movement.
Kiki, you feel Memoris's hand on your wrist as he yanks you right out of the way of a house-sized boulder that would have just killed you outright.
Gee,
He-
thanks.
Grabs you and starts pulling you up the scaffolding with McAllen directly ahead as everything is now collapsing. And as all of you come to the surface of the construction site up above, it is a maelstrom of massive explosions as a massive artillery barrage is currently underway. The 5 of you begin to find your way out of the construction site. No sign of any of the soldiers. No sign of anything. Eventually, Kiki, there's a crackling noise inside the orbit of your eye. You feel the network reconnect. Mistress,
Yes.
we no longer have established protocols for this, mistress. Whatever has happened has changed things greatly. Please gather your friends around you, please. Now, mistress. We are initiating Protocol 12.
Which one's Protocol 12?
That's when they beam you up to the ship.
Beam me
Oh,
up,
you guys
Scotty.
want- I'm just gonna. Hey, hold hands.
Yeah, you quickly...
What was it?
All of these high explosive rounds going off as this massive bombardment is going off.
Hold
The
hands
fu-
now.
This
I
is
can
not
get us out of
Kublai
here.
time.
I can get us out of here right now. Just do it.
All 5 of you circle around Kiki, and there's this massive feeling of an explosion, like you're kind of weightless for a moment. And you're inside of a beam of light that is pulling you at a blink speed up and up and up, and then finally you're in a very large metal room with no doors, no windows, no nothing.
The haunted mansion.
And no way out. Except my way out. And for the first time in a long time, Kiki, you feel the direct connection to the network. A series of sliding panels come up, and you watch as the entire ship begins to convert into the travel configuration. You can see the chairs kind of meld into existence around the panels, and you watch as melting from the roof above you, a member of the network.
Cool.
Why do I
Hey.
imagine this making you feel up?
And this glowing globule of silver energy just floating in front of you. It is good to see you again, mistress. I am happy to announce we did not need to initiate self-containment protocols. Whatever you and your friends did seemed to have closed the massive energy surge, although at a great cost. The summoning energy that was about to come about has been contained, and the event concluded.
See, I told you that there was much to learn from this planet. Strange things afoot.
Yes, maybe. And you watch as the energy ball moves from like Brash to McAllen to Memoris, and then it hovers for a moment over Calamex's unconscious form. And there's a quick burst of arcane energy, just this direct connection of energy. And you guys watch as Calamex's eyes begin to flutter and open as he begins to regain consciousness.
Yes. By the way, that network guy over there you see, he and I, we used to date.
You dated
Mistress,
the
I don't
light
know
bug?
why you keep telling people that. I'm not capable of dating, but if
I
I
love
was,
it.
perhaps we could.
As close in our world, there was no dating, but there was something similar, and we did that.
There is a very awkward silence. The orb actually looks at Kiki in utter kind of like confusion, and then begins to float between everybody else, and everybody now has the effects of a long rest, with the exception of
Woo!
Memoris, because Memoris already had that effect.
See, if I were in my natural form, I could do that too. But I'm in this shitty body. Sorry, guys.
The network just quickly, that body took us many centuries to assemble. The memories took decades of interplanetary study.
It is the most average body on this planet Earth. That's what we came up with.
There's literally a pulse of confusion from the network as you say that, and it just turns and it just kind of goes to back to what it was doing, which is just, you get the feeling that the ship is being prepped.
Where are we going?
Well, the network feels that the work is done here, mistress. It's time to go home.
Are you taking these people with us too?
Yes, they will be part of the study program. They will be offered housing and containment, and they will be studied for the rest of their lives.
This is like a study abroad program that goes forever.
Permanent study abroad.
Study abroad? For how long?
Well, no, mistress, we're
Forever.
following the normal completed protocols of those that you're directly involved with. They will be downloaded, assimilated, their forms studied for many centuries, and their sentient cells will be contained in memory bank 469.442A.
Okay, that sounds cool. As long as I can still
See,
be back to
now for y'all people,
Oh, did
that
you
might
not
be
want that?
normal.
Do you guys not want that?
But at least for myself, and I would hope for everyone else here, we would prefer not that option.
But you would learn so much. We have so much knowledge.
I don't know if
Yet
know
you
this
came
about-
to our planet to study knowledge.
Yes.
Well, to be fair, mistress, and you guys can now hear the network because its source is pulsing nearby, so you guys can actually hear the
Yeah, we're
network
having an
now.
open conversation.
Yeah, and the network goes, well,
Wouldn't
to be
that be
fair,
beautiful?
mistress, according to Containment Protocols 8842, we initially thought the planet known as Terra was more of an infestation classification. Now that we know that the infestation is easily manageable, we can pursue other planetary interjections.
Yes, of course. So it's my time to leave, but yeah,
Would it be
I
possible
thought
to?
that my friends would love to go to
Well,
our planet and study.
I actually have things, back on Terra,
Oh, do you?
that I would like to do. There's things, though.
Are you
I
sure? I'm sure
imagine
these
the
things would
place y'all
far
have
surpass your
planned is
feelings.
lovely and all, but I myself I already had I had like a plot of land in Paris. It was gonna be nice, gonna grow old and all that. I would prefer to go back there. Would it be possible to request
Are
to
you
have myself
sure?
sent back
You
there
haven't even
in
seen
a
my
safe
planet, though.
location,
What
not
if
back
you go
where
to
we
my
were
planet and you
teleported
fall
down?
in love with one of my beings, and then you like have a family and all that, and in my planet?
That's not possible, mistress. You know what the protocols require.
Not to be rude, but we've known you for 3 days, and I kind of want to go check on my parents because they live right near where this all
Oh
happened.
yes, people love their parents, don't they? Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Could I
because it's
try-
not
could I
quite
try
to
to
I will go
persuade-
out of the galaxy for you yet.
Could I try to
we ain't that
persuade the
close quite yet.
network and possibly sending us back?
Go for it. Make a persuasion check.
I still have advantage thanks to enhanceability.
Yep.
Okay, I'm glad for that advantage. That would be a 19.
19. I understand your protest class subject 8442. But you need to understand we have protocols and we have certain frameworks that we follow to make sure that these things are done in an appropriate manner. I assure you, you will feel no pain.
See, now, like, I have like an idea, but I feel like if it goes sideways, it is just gonna make the situation a lot worse.
I assure you, your life on my planet will be far.
But I would
more
like to go back to
enjoyable
my
than life
planet.
on Terra.
Like,
Okay,
you can go to
so-
your planet. I would like to go back to mine.
But you
I
haven't
pull
been to
out-
mine yet.
I pull out my pistol and I aim it at the floating orb and I
Oh, you
say,
can't shoot that. It doesn't work.
I
that
say
way.
to the orb, I go, obviously, there are those here who do not want to be here. I am resigned to whatever is in front of me at this point.
But Callan bullets don't work on our people.
I will.
Pointing a gun is the same as pointing your finger.
I can just see McCallum like go into this serious dialogue, and Kiki just leans up and over into his ear. Doesn't work here like that.
On Earth, maybe it's threatening, but here they're just like,
Okay, so I say,
you have to.
I will go willingly if you let my friends go back. And I turn and I aim at whatever
I
like
don't think you
console is
understand.
nearby.
Any physical
Yeah.
attack does not work.
No, but the ship itself.
I guess, but we can just float back. But you'll all die. If you
Brash
destroy the ship.
Calamix, this is kind of playing out around you. Although Calamix, you're
You destroy the ship, you'll die, but me and Network here will just go back to our planets. We don't
well,
need
that's not
air.
entirely true. But anyways,
You still
need
need
oxygen.
transportation.
so Brash and Calamix are kind of watching this tension play out. But Calamix, it's strange. You feel your hands kind of clench, your knuckles kind of crack as you, for the first time ever, the form that housed your draconic form feels like it's the only form that you can feel right now. You can still feel your sense of the attunement to the arcane nature of the world, but your direct link with chaos is still well established, and that seems to be where your magic has always come from, is from chaos. But now you control it. It's measurable. You can feel the power kind of course through you, but your connection with that ancient dragon form that you thought always was you just sealed the gate, standing watch, making sure that the old one once again cannot make it through.
He kind of opens his mouth, like he opened his mouth for the first time.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
I think his mouth's a little dry.
And he stands up and he kind of stretches out muscles he's never stretched out before. Looks at you all and goes, I have full control.
As he
I'm like
gets sucked into the abyss.
So basically, I'm a conduit for this chaos now, correct?
You've always been a conduit for it.
But now I know it
Now
specifically.
you know it. Yeah.
They didn't know what the power of chaos was.
Correct.
The foreign thing.
I'm going
Well,
to try.
give me an insight check as you begin to try to figure out how this all worked from your perspective. Why you?
25.
25. Ever since the world of Terra was fractured and the last of all of the others made their way through the gateways, there was always this revelation of understanding of what magic really was. With the passing of the old world and the transcendency into the new world, there is only ever chaos because it's unending. And that transition from the old world to the new world found you permanently subjugated to that chaos. This information was known by only a few. And when this information was found out through individuals that were not careful with said information while they were constructing the hatchery, a realization of what you truly were and are, you begin to realize that the chaos magic that was used to subjugate your ancient dragon form was actually the first of all dragons. The first one to ever come into existence. The first one that spawned a lineage of dragons over time. And the old one saw this blip in the universe through the veil of chaos and began a very long orchestration of manipulation and control. You get the sudden realization that part of his plan did work. He was responsible for the destruction of Terrell and many countless other worlds as he was organizing this plot to come into the material existence of a place called Terra. This part of your journey is finished. But there's still something else out there that's still leaking into this reality. Not sure if it's the old one trying again, or if somehow you're part of that leak permanently. But getting this chaos under control and finding your way in the world seems purposeful now. You're centered. You feel like you more so now than you ever felt before. You're the surviving fragment of a million memories that made up the ancient dragon form that was your former self. You kind of look at Memoris and Kiki and McAllen and Brash. The sudden realization that more than likely the Unity Council has built the hatchery. More than likely that it was the Unity that put the plot in motion. More than likely it was the Unity that purposely attracted the beast cult and Xanathar to this great idea. And that all of this was with the understanding that the Unity knew this was going to happen. And the best way to see to it that that gate was closed was to be sure that the architect of the ability to close it was never, ever out of their control. And there's just a flash of a grinning Miss Brown.
Oh shoot.
I'll look at Callan and say, is this what you want? To stay with these people? Or would you like to come home?
I've been through so much. And it seems to me that in this land, the only use that anybody has for me is for the skills that I possess. At this point, I'm tired. I just want to rest. I don't want to have to go and keep searching for things I know that aren't there.
Okay. And he looks over at Brash and Memoris and goes, it's time for us to go. Goodbye, Kiki.
Aww.
And he snapped his fingers and teleports them back home.
Oh, bye.
Aw, that's sad. Well, if that's what they really wanted.
So as
Well,
I'm
go continue.
So I'm standing here, I reach into my jacket and I pull out a photograph and I say, all this time, my investigations, I always asked everybody if they recognize this person. And I hand it to Kiki. And it's a photograph of a young furbog who looks not dissimilar to myself. And I say, that was my little brother.
Oh.
He went missing when I was very young. And I kept searching for him. But the realization I've come to a long time ago, and it's taken me a long time to accept, is that, well, he's dead. And
You don't know how he died?
I grew up in a very rough place. You know, it was very dog eat dog. And after the convergence and everything, it just made it more difficult. But I feel like at least I'm leaving the world that we came into a little bit better than how it was when I came there. And now I would like to rest.
You speak as if you were going to die. You are not going to die.
Call it a retirement, because obviously I'm done investigating.
It's a new life. I'm excited for you to come to my planet.
Well, it's definitely a new journey for me.
Yes.
So the orb hovers nearby, Kiki. You can feel the hum of the engines beginning to form up around you, the familiar sense of the pull of the drive system. The wormhole begins to form not further than maybe about a mile or so off in the distance as the resonant energy begins to connect with the drive system and the wormhole begins to spin slightly and come into existence. The network looks at you in its kind of bland, orbish form. Well, mistress, shall we close out infestation planet number 92246 as properly pacified, and shall we return on it in the future?
Yes, that sounds like a good idea.
Well, that's good. There's a xenomorph planet not far from here, maybe about a couple hundred light years. We've been requested to make a pass-by, double-check the finding crew that was left there some time ago. I will begin downloading the schematics and the understanding of these creatures. and you kind of feel that happen. You feel the ship begin to kind of lift and cruise as it approaches the wormhole, and then you just all of the two of you just feel a collapse of time and space as you dip into that wormhole. Where would you like to be teleported to, Calamex?
Slackjaw. His men.
Where?
The what's it called? The military base that I know Slackjaw would have gone to.
Within a moment, the three of you, there's a yellow and bluish light that kind of dissipates as you kind of land in this collection of bivouac kind of tents. And looking around, it's strange. It's quiet. Eventually, after a few minutes, you realize that there's hardly anyone here. They still haven't returned from where they were originally involved back in a place called Hollywoodland. The three of you linger in the private bivouac of Slackjaw, and then eventually, after an hour or so, you begin to hear the familiar creaking and grinding of the great arsenal that is Slackjaw's company. And then you hear as the armored carrier kind of stops nearby, the cupola kind of gets opened, and you watch as Slackjaw pulls himself out, looks to where the three of you are. Well, I'll be goddamned. You ain't dead. He leaps down off the tank onto the gravelly road, starts walking towards you, Calamex, and just kind of, without even thinking, just picks you up, gives you a big rib-crushing like hug, and drops you to the ground. Kind of fluffs Brash's hair and looks very much like Memories will probably just kill him with a glance. And just kind of, yeah, you don't touch me with your magic spell. Just you stay right there. I've seen what you pull out of people's heads. I like where my memories are. How the hell? We thought you were dead when they decided to just unload hell on that place in hopes that it would stop whatever was happening. I mean, as far as the commanders are concerned, they stopped what was happening, but looking at you three, I'm beginning to think otherwise.
Brash just points at Calamex. He did it.
Mimers kind of gives Calamex this look as to like it's up to him if he would like to keep this a secret or not.
Brash doesn't care. She just still points at
Yeah,
Calamex.
Brash is like,
Calamex says, Slackjaw, I need you to keep a secret.
well, my drinking gets me in trouble sometimes, mate, but for you, I'll give it a go.
We're not alive.
Really? Am I looking at ghosts?
Indeed you are.
Is there anybody out there that I should report this to, perhaps?
He just looks at him and goes, the ghosts don't report to anyone. What I need is people that I can trust. And I trust you and your men. You'll
And
be the
all
first-
women.
I
And
look
my
at him.
turtles. You know you trust my turtles.
And my tortoise.
I trust you and your company more than most people.
I understand.
In the times to come, I'm going to need your help again.
You thinking of forming your own group, mate? Give these other ne'er-do-wells a bit of a run for their money.
He kind of cracks his neck and goes, I plan to fix what those people who try to experiment on us have done to the world. And I believe you've lost more than enough men to people's stupidity.
That's the nature of politics, mate. But yeah, I understand what your meaning is. The two of you watch as Slackjaw leans down into Calamex's ear. You can't hear what Slackjaw says, but Calamex, you hear the distinct sentence whispered into your ear. What do you want me to tell Miss Brown? The truth or the lie?
He just looks at him and goes, there's only one truth. We died.
And that's what she'll get, mate.
When you see me next, just know it's the time.
I understand. Good luck. And I hope whatever you find finds your way back to whatever you're looking for. I'll be here. You'll find me.
He goes, goes into his bag and pulls out all the schematics that he has so that all of him and his men can be fully repaired with more than operational gear. And he gives it to him. Your medics will understand how to use these.
Hey, Thombo, you want these? You watch as a very heavily augmented gnome comes around out of the back of the APC carrier. Sure, boss. I like... Oh, holy shit. Who wrote this? A god? And he starts reading and like walking away and like bumps into a wall while he's reading as he just is fully invested in the information. Slackjaw looks at you. Well, anyways, mate, it's been a ride. I can't wait to see what the next one is. And we'll say you guys gather up your gear. The three of you begin to take advantage of this chaos, and you recover a vehicle. About an hour or two goes by. Most of the old night is faded, and without taking your long rest yet, as exhaustion is about to set in, the sun crests over the horizon over LA as you're coming around a familiar location, Brash. The drive down into the valley, clutching the address in your hand that was slipped there by Kiki as she had tracked down your family. The network printing out the address. Somewhere deep outside in a very rural valley north of LA, you stand there staring. Very simple house. The address matches it. Your family lives here. They are here. Both Calamix and Memoris leaning on the old Model A truck that's behind you with the new fabricated works that the gnomes often like to put on certain vehicles that they're inclined to. The strange hum of a gem-like engine crackling with this magical energy. What do you want to do?
There's probably a bit of an uncomfortable moment where Brash is like standing with her hand about ready to like knock on the door. And she's like hesitating, and she probably will turn back and look at Calamex and Memoris like for some sort of reassurance.
For the reassurance, Calamex will go up to you, smile, and help you knock on the door.
A very surprised and shocked female tabaxi opens up the door. The last thing that both Memoris and Calamex see is screams and yells of joy as Brash is pulled into the house and a cacophony of hugs and well wishes an entire family unit that managed to just barely escape the nightmare that was downtown LA. And the door just kind of gently closes.
Where am I?
It's
Sorry.
no, go ahead.
As the door closes, he looks at Memories. So where am I taking you?
You remember the first day we met? When that city was blown to bits, and you essentially saved my life. I told you that day you had my respect. You still do.
What
I'll
I
follow
plan
you.
to do. Understand what I plan to do is either life or death. I'm going to take down the Unity.
Well, I'm always looking for some new adventure. Though, I don't think you ever told me, who was it that blew up that city and nearly killed me?
He just smiles and looks at him and goes, the Unity.
Well then, I suppose we have our goal. Where should we start first?
We need a base. And I know just the operation to take over. As he sets a GPS or looks at a map of Chicago.
I love it. And that's where we're going to finish the season, folks, because I have a lot of writing to do. Now, whether or not Teresa and Colin will be able to come back in the fall, I don't know. But when we start this back up again in probably September, October after the summer, we'll be starting it with Calamex at the head of his organization, Memoris and Brash, agents that he's recruited. And we will begin to recruit 2 new agents in case neither Teresa or Colin are able to come back. And we're getting a peek at the baby boy who's been sleeping on mama.
I'll say that because of how powerful Calamex has become, I'm going to probably come back as not Calamex.
So you'll come back as an agent within your own new agency, almost.
Correct.
Awesome. I love that.
Specifically,
idea.
He went back. I saved a few gangsters here in the city.
Fair enough.
I'm going to go. One of those gangsters is definitely going to come find me because he owes me his life.
What I really
like,
I like the feel of McAllen and Kiki exiting. And I threw a little aliens reference in there, the xenomorph planet.
That kind of
I love that.
We're gonna be xenomorphs. Isn't that fun?
But one of the things I was thinking of doing when we come back, I'm thinking of doing another time skip, like a 5 or 10 year time skip. That way technology can get a little bit more out of control.
I like
and
it.
Technology is going to go just ape shit over this 20-year period, right? Because there's a 10-year period from 1917 to 1927. And now we're going to explore 1937 to the 40s, that whole period of unrest. And what did this new 20-year history timeline create for those that are going to live in this new history moving forward? I think that's going to be interesting to kind of write up and do. And I love the idea of Calamex becoming my NPC and you becoming a new agent, and really the only 2 that may show up under Calamex's direct kind of like orders or invocation of favor will be a Memoris who will have aged 10 years and Brash who will have aged 10 years.
I'm not 100% on if Brash will be the one to come back either. I may give Brash to you as well. We'll see.
Yeah.
Because there's another character that I just finished developing that I'm like, they would be so much fun with this advancing technology.
Well, and keep in mind too, one of the things I want to do if you do decide to come back with a new character, if you decide to come back with a new character, and Memoris, you're free to do this too if you choose to, I want you to write a story. I want you to write that 10-year or 20-year story of that new character, and that story becomes your character sheet. We'll still do we'll still do like the abilities and the hit points, but we're not going to do levels. You're going to write a story that is your character, and that's what we're going to run with.
That's interesting.
And then the way your character ages in the story, the way that character is influenced by the sandbox, will help guide you, like, reflectively on skills, on abilities, what you think you can or can't do. And we're going to explore this final kind of 2.0 approach that I'm trying to come up with to get rid of levels and to get rid of subtypes and archetypes and all of that stuff. I just want you guys to spend the next 3 or 4 months just writing doesn't have to be the perfect story, but just write your story. Write a story that sounds like it could be a character. And that's what will be the agents that serve the new Calamex agency designed to bring down the Unity. As Calamex is now fully aware that the manipulation was from the beginning to the very end. And there's a bit of Calamex wonders. Maybe starting at the hatchery is a good spot.
You probably will.
And I'm going to miss Colin and Teresa. It makes me so sad.
Aww.
But I didn't want to
we're
really,
in space.
you know,
That's
after
cool.
the last 2 or 3 sessions, it was winding up perfectly to get to this point. You know, the conclusion of Calamex's backstory, kind of like the elevation of Memoris and Brash within the world that they want to explore. And then you and McAllen, you know, McAllen's exhaustion and the decision to try out this new life and then going with you to your new worlds. I mean, by the time McAllen does ever actually reemerge within Earth, it'll be like the year 4000 based on all the activities that, you know, is going to go on between, you know, the adventures of Kiki Lee and McAllen. Almost sounds like a barroom brawl to a certain degree. And I know, Memoris, unfortunately, you missed like 2 or 3 of the sessions because of illness and stuff like that. So don't worry. You're going to be coming back in the fall as whatever agent you want to be. Either you are Memoris, which in that case, you'd be the seasoned agent.
I feel like he would be the Memoris would end up being the one in charge.
It feels like
That would be great.
Calamex is like the shadow figure. Memoris runs the agency. And then the 3 of you play agents, and then whatever 2 new folks will get, or if Teresa and Colin by then have the ability to play, you know, 5 brand new agents under a brand new agency, this whole umbrella. Another 10 years goes by, and the technology has just gone bonkers. You know, 10 years of peace since the closing of World War I by 1927. You know, that decade of peace is just going to be an explosion of steampunk style technology and magic, and this world is going to continue to reshape itself.
Oh, I got it. I know the perfect name for the order.
What's that?
For this new order.
What's that?
It's so it's called the Unity Council. This is going to be called Disruption. That's it. Just Disruption.
Love it.
Yeah, I think Memoris would end up being the one running everything, and then like the main agency would have because he has so many people that have been screwed over by the Unity that he knows, so he could actually use them against the Unity.
Well, it's kind of like the Hydra and Shield narrative, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you think you're doing good, but at the exploitation of others without their consent, are you really doing good? Or are you just following a corporate tiered agenda of discovery, regardless of all the damage and broken parts that you leave behind? You know, and yeah, sure, Hydra's like nefariously evil, but the Unity Council truly believes that what it was doing was the right thing to do, but not necessarily the good thing to do.
I think the best part about it is like, I think because of who Calamex is, he would end up using a lot of those criminal thought processes and knowledges he has to then undermine and infiltrate and use the same tactics that the Unity does to everyone else to the Unity.
See, I love that. I absolutely love that. Oh my God. So yeah, sorry for the short night, guys, but I kind of felt like last session and this session were part 1, part 2. So it was kind of like a a 5-hour, 6-hour event. I wasn't sure how it was going to play out. Once you made the decision to go down into the pyramid and confront the priest and Xanathar in your kind of condition that you were in, it was either going to be one of three ways, right? You lost and you died, or you defeated them and then you solved the riddle of Calamex. Now, if you chose not to go down in the pyramid and move with Slackjaw back and out to the outskirts of LA, you still would have disrupted the ceremony, but the nefarious nature of the priest and the beholder and the unresolved Calamex probably would have turned into a direct confrontation with Miss Brown, and that would have been the conclusion we would have done over the next 2 or 3 sessions. So those were kind of the two orchestrations that I saw kind of happening. So sometimes a game just finishes because it feels good. I don't know. I like this ending. This ending felt good.
I like it too.
It was nice. It was a nice ending. I got to go back to my yeah. And he came with
That I've been avoiding for like 5 years.
Oh my god, you guys all look a little shell-shocked.
I'm just thinking about what Calamex is going to end up doing next, and now I have to think about this new character. You know, someone who essentially Calamex saved his life, so he's going to be 100% loyal to this man, no matter what he tells him.
Well, what's interesting is you get to play around more with a new narrative of 20 years going by, right? So the initial 10 years from 1917 to 27. But if you establish a new young character within the narrative, that character could have been an infant during the crossover and is just now maturing, you know, in a point of the 1930s, 1940s. And what is the political tirade of the world at that point? What's going on in the world that's been so heavily influenced by this idea of counterculture, this entire existence of populations of entities? I mean, there's still the Drow. We never really resolved the Drow. What do they got going on for the next 10 years? What's going on at the hatchery? What is the Unity doing now that they believe all of you've died? Are they just going to continue as normal and do the things that they do? And, you know, what about the relationships that are fostered with your descendants? Those descendants are going to remain, but are you going to now try to copy what they do with the descendants and start making your own descendant narrative? And maybe Calamex.
I feel like Calamex would go back for that, like the descendants that were kind of left behind in that temple. He'd definitely go back for them.
Yeah, that could be a possibility too. And maybe
and it would also give the new order like the ability of getting descendants on their own.
Yeah. Another like there's at least 3 or 4 arcs we could explore when we come back. So, but I really want you guys to take some time to explore the idea of literally writing a character story and that story becoming your character. And then we'll figure out a way to make the mechanics work. The core mechanics I will always keep in game is the DC system. The DC system works. I'm going to flesh out the madness system, and I'm going to take some time to build what I call a hero system as well. And basically, we're going to create a core mechanic system that borrows like it normally does. But when you go to build your character, I'm going to make that wholly and uniquely your thing that you do, and track it and organize it and manage it in any way that you want to. This is that creative outlet. I want to see what players can do with it, because then I can use it as a feedback loop to see what do I need to tweak in this overall approach. Like, you know, I love the idea of successes of failure. You know, I love the idea of rolling dice for degrees of failure and success. And the one thing I like about playing Star Wars is it affords the opportunity for Enigma to tell us, okay, you failed, but tell me how you failed. Talk to, you know, narrate out your failure. And, you know, it's kind of like, you know, when, what's his name? Silas loses that foot race, and he gets to narrate how he loses it to a certain degree. That's the part of that game that I love, because I love that narration ability, that adaptation ability, the ability for the GM to kind of lean back and not have to do anything while the characters take over for a moment and have a lot of fun with their successes and failures.
Mm-hmm.
And I can only imagine what it must be like to be given this huge task of, holy shit, how do I create a story and then turn that story into a character? Like, what does that look like? What does that mean? You know, if I write a brief synopsis of a story that describes this really kind of muscle-bound, educated individual who grows up on a farm, is a little bit handy with hunting and whatever, but befriends a strange hermit in the woods who teaches him a little bit of wizard magic. And then while drunk in a bar fight one time, he learns a little bit about warlock magic. What does that mean? You know, and because he's so good at hunting, he's kind of a bit of a survivalist. And maybe over a period of time, he collapses in on himself and becomes kind of a loner, similar to the way the hermit was. And the only reason he comes out of hiding is because an agent shows up in his forested area and is like, my buddy Calamix needs you. Please, let's go. You know, and then you have this story that becomes a character, because as that story is influenced by the way the agency that Calamix is built, suddenly you're a little bit smarter or a little bit faster. Maybe you get an augment, or maybe something that the agency provides you kind of puts the finishing touches on your story. And then we transfer that into a character sheet the way that you feel like is going to make sense. You write your own skills, you write your own feats. You know, you write out how you feel weapons are going to work for you and what weapons mean to you. Maybe you know 2 or 3 spells because they're written in a book that you recite and you remember. And the only way you could ever add spells to it is if you find them out in the world somewhere. And you spend the time to study it and put it in that book. I think a game is always going to need a referee, a narrator, a guide. But I really feel like once a game transcends to the story of the player and their relationship with the character that they've evolved through the method of story, and that story becomes that character, I think that's that big leap. That's that big transition from the last bit of rails that you have left, like leveling and archetypes and sub-archetypes, and the idea that you have to follow these conditions to create something unique, even though someone else can follow the exact same condition and therefore you're no longer unique. You can build an Eldritch Knight and feel that it's unique, but another 1,200 players could build that same Eldritch Knight. It's still just an Eldritch Knight. But what if you're a gnome growing up with a kind of Tourette syndrome that plays out because you were a survivor of a particular catastrophe that occurred? And near death, you make a pact, and the only thing that survives that pact is your ability to just shoot that one laser beam out of your finger. And that's the only thing that survives within you that you can control and muster. You know, and maybe your nervous tick related to Tourette's is how you use that Eldritch Blast within the reality of your world. Suddenly you're now playing a story of a character as opposed to, I'm going to be a wizard who likes fire. Sure. Or you could be a little bit of a wizard, a little bit of a cleric, a little bit of a kind of nuanced, you know, individual who comes up with this unique way of kind of blending all that together to build an extremely unique character that you really just sit there and write your own skills and feats and ideas for that character. That way, every time you move through the game, let's say after 7 or 8 sessions, we go, this feels like a milestone. Let's talk about what skills that you think you might have learned over the course of the game so far. Do you have any fears that you want to include in your character? Any foibles? You know, did you suddenly find yourself to be a little bit more paranoid because of your failures? And what do your successes actually bring you? And that inspiration comes from Shannon, because she's in a game called Ombligo del Diablo, and that's exactly how they do their leveling system and how they kind of mature their characters within that space. And I love that idea because I think it really puts the idea of a really solid story of a character together, and less of the traditional archetypes, subclasses, class, and the idea that you're this core thing. But how do you get to that core thing? Like, what's your story before all that? And that story should make you up. All right, everybody. We're going to finish a little early tonight because I've got a lot to work on. I have given myself a full table of stuff to work on, and I'm so happy to do it. So, hey, everybody, thank you for hanging out and watching the close of our first season. We will be back with the second season in September is the tentative date. We will do the occasional pop-up as a group where we start exploring this new character creation method, talking about what 1947 alternate history is actually going to look like, and start planning that first session come the fall. So, hey, everybody, thank you for coming out. Everything you need to know is down below. Join our Discord. Take advantage of some giveaways. Our theme this month is aliens. Alien t-shirt, alien miniatures, alien game, alien dice. So jump on over to our Discord. Have some fun there. We have lots of alternative games playing over there. We will be back here tomorrow night, Thursday night, 6 o'clock. Stories, Tales of the Lost. I always say stories. I suck.
That's
Tales
what
of the
is.
Lost. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. As I always say, be kind, be nice. Play a game. Be safe. Play a game. It's good for your mental health. I promise you, you'll love it. Explore it. Have fun with it. I'm telling you right now, it's a blast. Good night, everybody.
Bye. Blah.
Oh,
I'm like sad now.
We're still alive.
Yeah, we
I
know.
know.
we all live.
It's the post-game banter that we always do. What are you doing?
You know what's
All
funny?
live.
I can 100% see Calamex becoming like the Vandal Savage of this world.
You guys get ready to go?
Because
Yeah, we're done. Yeah, we're just
Vandal
wrapping up.
Savage
and
is
say
like
goodbye to
he
everybody.
started out as like
They've got
he
their
wants the
marching
best
orders
thing.
for fall, working on the new character type builds
Oh,
and
I've got
everything.
so many, I've got my ideas
we're
already.
gonna say
like,
goodnight to everybody. I'll be out in a
doing
minute.
all the things.
For now, yeah, probably till September, maybe sometime in September. Mostly. Oh, we're still live. I forgot we're still live. Hold on.
Yep. Still going, Jason.
I know, right?